Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Brady vs. Manning, the untold story of the rivalry that transformed the NFL, by Gary Myers, narrated by Barry Abrams. Introduction. Tom Brady was warming up at the old Foxborough Stadium prior to the first start of his career. It was the third game of the 2001 season, and the New England Patriots were already desperate. They had lost their first two games to the Cincinnati Bengals and New York Jets. They had just lost starting quarterback Drew Bledsoe with a sheared blood vessel in his chest that nearly killed him. And head coach Bill Belichick feared owner Robert Kraft was going to fire him, even though it was only his second year in New England. The Patriots were playing the Indianapolis Colts and their young superstar Peyton Manning, who was in his fourth season and already established as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Brady was a forgotten sixth-round pick in 2000. He'd thrown just 3 passes as a rookie, but had played the final series after Bledsoe was hurt against the Jets and threw 10 passes in the loss. Now all the pressure of the season was on him. If it had been put to a vote right then whether, 13 years later, either Manning or Brady would have won 4 Super Bowls and 3 Super Bowl MVPs, Manning would have been a landslide winner, carrying all 6 New England states, especially the great state of Massachusetts. Brady had fought for every snap he received at the University of Michigan and had overcome the indignity of having 198 players, including 6 quarterbacks, taken ahead of him before the Patriots wrote his name on the draft card that is displayed in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Now, however, with Bledsoe out indefinitely, the Patriots' starting job belonged to him. The greatest rivalry in National Football League history began with a pregame introduction that was hardly necessary. "Hey, Tom," a player wearing the Colts' white jersey number 18 said, extending his hand. Brady looked up. The player introduced himself. "Peyton," he said to Brady. Of course Brady knew who he was. Everybody knew Peyton Manning. He was the number 1 overall pick in the 1998 draft. He was the new fresh face of the league, with Dan Marino and John Elway nearing the end of their careers. Brady was impressed that Manning knew his name. Brady smiled, but resisted saying what was going through his mind. "No shit, I know who you are." "That's funny," Manning said when the story was relayed to him years later. "It was a very polite thing for him to do, especially being on our field," Brady said. "That really speaks to his character. He always does the right thing, says the right thing, acts the right way." Manning learned from his father Archie to introduce himself even when he thinks the person knows who he is. "It's a Southern thing," Archie said. "That's how he does it. That's what he taught his 3 sons." "I like when people introduce themselves to me because I meet a lot of people, so it helps," Peyton Manning said. "I don't assume anyone knows who I am automatically." That was the start of an intense rivalry and a terrific friendship. Brady versus Manning. Manning versus Brady. Regardless of who comes first, they have been magic, like Magic versus Bird. Brady won that first meeting by 31 points over a Colts team that Manning, who had 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns in the game, said was pretty terrible. Since then, Brady versus Manning has been the most compelling matchup in the NFL. Through the 2014 season, they faced each other 16 times. It's Brady 11-5, including 2-2 in the playoffs. Brady won the first 2 postseason matchups, including one AFC Championship game when Manning played for the Colts. Manning won the next 2, an AFC Championship game with the Colts, and another one in his second season with the Broncos in 2013. The argument has been going on for more than a decade in stadiums, living rooms, luxury boxes, sports bars, fantasy leagues, and wherever they have high-definition television. Who's better, Brady or Manning? The red, white, and blue confetti, the Patriots' colors, coming down on Brady for the fourth time in his illustrious career after the Patriots beat the Seahawks in Super Bowl 49 in Phoenix, provides one answer. Brady leads Manning in Super Bowl victories 4-1. He leads him in Super Bowl appearances 6-3. But he's also had the benefit of playing his entire career for Belichick, arguably the greatest coach since Vince Lombardi. Manning played for Jim Mora, Tony Dungy, and Jim Caldwell in Indianapolis, then 3 years for John Fox in Denver, and then for Gary Kubiak, who took over the Broncos in 2015. None of Manning's coaches approached Belichick in stature. Who has been the better quarterback? Manning is the greatest regular season player, not just quarterback, in the history of the NFL. You want Manning in the regular season. You don't lose much by taking Brady, but you definitely want Brady in January and on the first Sunday in February. By the time Brady picked up his fourth ring, he was 21-8 in the playoffs with the best postseason winning percentage in league history. Manning was just 11-13. When Brady won his first Super Bowl, he was the youngest quarterback to hold the trophy. When he won his fourth Super Bowl, he was the fourth oldest quarterback to win it all. He has stood the test of time. The 13-year period between his first and latest Super Bowl victories is the longest sustained run of excellence of any quarterback in NFL history. The 10-year gap between his third and fourth titles is also the longest for any quarterback. Brady won the first 9 playoff games of his career, resulting in 3 Super Bowl titles. Manning holds the NFL records for touchdown passes in a season and career, and for most passing yards in a season, and he'll likely finish with the most passing yards in a career and most victories by a quarterback. Manning's career numbers blow away Brady's. He has won a record 5 Most Valuable Player awards. Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, and Brett Favre are next with 3. Brady has 2, but Brady has all those rings. Sports is all about great rivalries. The gold standards: Manning versus Brady, Ali versus Frazier, Magic versus Bird, Palmer versus Nicklaus, Wilt versus Russell. The Manning-Brady rivalry doesn't have the sociological implications of Magic and Bird, of course, and they are never on the field at the same time. But their greatness and popularity transcend the ultimate team sport. Manning was number 2 in jersey sales, and Brady was number 4 in 2014. Impressive when, by now, they've been around long enough that anybody who wants their jersey has already purchased it. They have played 4 elimination games against each other. Their rivalry defines an entire era of the NFL. Brady's most recent title tied him with Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana for the most Super Bowl victories by a quarterback, and jumped him over Montana as the greatest quarterback in NFL history. Manning has had more heartache than happiness in the postseason. The Broncos' loss in the divisional round of the playoffs to the Colts following the 2014 season was the 9th time his team was eliminated in its first playoff game, the most one-and-dones ever for a quarterback, and the 6th time he had lost a home playoff game. Brady has been one-and-done twice in his career and lost 3 home playoff games. Their battles have been epic. The television ratings are astronomical. Brady Manning has morphed into one word. I don't think there would be Tom who he is now if there wasn't Peyton and the Colts, said Teddy Bruschi, the former Patriots linebacker. It just goes hand in hand. Manning-Brady. What if they were in different eras and didn't have each other to push each other against their respective teams? That's the finals. That's Bird magic. That's what everybody wants to see. That's classic football. A matchup you remember where you were when you saw certain playoff games, or when it started snowing, or the 3 interceptions by Ty Law, or Peyton Manning finally winning his. I remember all that stuff. A lot of the best memories I have playing for the Patriots involve the Colts, involve Manning. Dan Marino and John Elway were two of the best quarterbacks to ever play at the same time. They came into the NFL together in 1983, and their careers are often compared. But Brady was shocked when told that Elway and Marino played against each other just 3 times before Elway retired following the 1998 season. 2 of those games were played in Elway's final year, including the only time they met in the playoffs. How is that possible? Brady asked. That's what has made the Brady versus Manning rivalry so special. They faced each other at least once every season, except when Brady was hurt in 2008 and Manning was hurt in 2011. They competed twice in the same season, 5 times. Brady is driving from Foxborough to downtown Boston on a frigid November day in his black Lexus. I am in the passenger seat. He has just finished practice and a meeting prior to a Monday night game in Carolina in 2013, which the Patriots would lose, and in which Brady would trail an official coming off the field, unloading a few F-bombs about a bad non-call in the end zone that cost the Patriots the game. Brady may have the look of a choir boy, but he's a cold-blooded killer on the field. Toward the end of a 2014 loss in Green Bay, when a pass by Aaron Rodgers picked up a key first down, allowing the Packers to run out the clock and deprive Brady of one last chance to win the game, America became aware of the fire and passion that drive him. "Fuck! Fuck! Fuck!" Brady could be seen yelling as he paced the sidelines. That was not out of character for Brady, the league's best undercover trash talker. "I couldn't watch all of the game. I was offended by the language I saw," joked then Jets coach Rex Ryan, who himself set a modern-day television record for F-bombs when the Jets appeared on Hard Knocks in 2010. I am explaining the concept of this book to Brady on the way into Boston as he makes the nearly hour-long drive to the apartment he's living in with his Brazilian supermodel wife, Gisele Bündchen, and their 2 children, while his mansion in Brookline is under construction. I'm asking the questions, and he's answering them with a lot of thought and depth, taking his eyes off the road only at a red light or when traffic comes to a stop. He likes the idea. He likes Manning. They're very good friends. Tom's father, Tom Brady Sr., and Archie text on Mondays during the season to ask each other about their sons and, as Tom Sr. says, to let each other know the kids are all right. Surprisingly, after all these years, they have never met in person, but feel connected through their quarterback sons. Brady and Manning are only a year apart, the 2 oldest starting quarterbacks in a league that caters to the young. They have gone through many of the same experiences in the NFL. They can relate to each other. "It's been pretty cool," Brady said. "It's a pretty special rivalry." Peyton has his younger brother Eli to share notes with, but Brady is the only other quarterback in his inner circle. At times, Brady has looked at Peyton as the older brother he never had, growing up in a house with 3 older sisters. When Brady missed almost the entire 2008 season after tearing the anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, in his left knee in the first quarter of the season opener, when Chiefs safety Bernard Pollard rolled into him, Manning supported him with encouraging text messages and phone calls. "I think you find out during those times who's with you," Manning said. "Everybody wants to talk to you when you're playing well, throwing touchdowns. Going through a tough time, being injured, people kind of look at you funny. You kind of reach out to Tom, tell him good luck, check in on him. When I got injured, it was the same deal. He had the same chance to do that for me. It does mean something." When Manning missed the entire 2011 season following his 4th neck surgery, Brady was in frequent communication. "It's nice to have a peer you can really rely on and you know is completely trustworthy," Brady said. "That's the kind of relationship we have. It's nice to have people like that. I think it's been a natural thing for us." Their absence added another layer to the argument about who was better. The Patriots still had an excellent season in 2008, an 11-5 record with backup Matt Castle, but lost the division to the Dolphins on a tiebreaker and a wild card spot to the Ravens on a tiebreaker. Yet, when Manning was sidelined 3 years later, the Colts bottomed out at 2-14. Did that prove that Manning was better or more valuable? It proved that Belichick had a better backup in Castle and a better team around him than Caldwell had with backups Kerry Collins, Curtis Painter, and Dan Orlovsky, and the team that future Hall of Famer Bill Polian had constructed around them. Would Brady have been Brady and Manning been Manning if they hadn't had each other? One isn't bigger without the other. Tom completes Peyton and Peyton completes Tom, said Dallas Clark, who played tight end for the Colts from 2003 to 2011. It makes their legacy in the NFL that much greater by having one another and having the battles they had as individuals and with their teams. It's taken their level of recognition, taken their impact on this game to a whole other level. What better sell is there than Manning versus Brady? You just say that and television ratings are shooting through the roof. It was a battle. It was a grind. Rodney Harrison, one of the hardest-hitting safeties to play in the NFL, began his career with the Chargers in 1994 and played 9 years in San Diego. He joined the Patriots in 2003 and spent the final 6 years of his career in New England playing with Brady and against Manning. "Let me tell you something. I'm so thankful to have played in this era," Harrison said. "Sometimes people can look and say I played at the wrong time because of the contracts and the type of money. But to be able to witness two of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game, to have the professionalism, the mutual respect that they have for one another, it's tremendous. I'll be able to tell my kids exactly what I witnessed. I played against Tom. I played against Peyton. I just shake my head because people don't understand the greatness and consistency over so many years and what they've been able to accomplish." Brady has often been compared to Derek Jeter, the former New York Yankees shortstop, for both his demeanor and his accomplishments. I mentioned to Brady in the midst of his 10-year drought between Super Bowl titles that Jeter won his 4th World Series in 2000 and his 5th and final in 2009, with 2 World Series losses in between. Brady also lost 2 Super Bowls between his 3rd and 4th titles. "It's not like you're going to win 6 or 7 Super Bowls," he said. "Why didn't Michael Jordan win 12 championships? He won 6. That's still a ton. With how good the other players are, the level playing field, especially in the NFL and the salary cap era, it's hard to win." I suggest to Brady that he and Peyton are the Bird and Magic of the NFL. He doesn't ask which is which. If he did, I would say Manning is Bird. He can slice up a defense with his brains, precision passes, anticipation, and instincts. Brady is Magic. Just as much a student of the game as Manning and Bird and Magic, but like Magic, he is more explosive, exciting, creative, spectacular, more volatile. Bird is from Indiana. Manning played most of his career in Indianapolis. Brady is from California. Johnson played his entire career in Los Angeles. Magic versus Bird, Brady versus Manning. "I definitely think that's a flattering thing," Brady said. "I think so highly of them. So when people say you guys are comparable, that's very flattering. It's not why we play the game. It's not what motivates me. It's not about my legacy. I couldn't care less about that. I just want to win. That's what makes me feel the best. My days are committed to that." I am meeting with Manning at the Broncos practice facility in Dove Valley, outside downtown Denver, after a June organized team activity day. He is friendly and accommodating as usual, and as every reporter who has dealt with him over the years knows, he never forgets your name. I met him for the first time the day before he was drafted in 1998, when the NFL used to bring 6 players to New York and invite the media to join them on a cruise ship for a ride around the island of Manhattan with the opportunity to interview the players. The ride would last 2 hours, but the work was done in 45 minutes. At that point, The players, media, agents, and league officials along for the ride wanted to get off the boat and go about their business, but there's not much to be done when you're in the middle of the Hudson River with the captain enthusiastically pointing out the Statue of Liberty. Manning had been told in confidence by the Colts one day earlier they would take him over Ryan Leaf, but with the draft beginning in less than 24 hours, that preference was still supposed to be a secret. Even Leaf didn't know. Although San Diego, which was picking second, would be considered by most to be a more desirable city than Indianapolis, Manning was focused on the Colts. He wanted to be the first pick in the draft. His father, Archie, had been the number 2 overall pick in 1971 by the Saints, one spot after New England selected Jim Plunkett. Besides, Polian had recently been hired to run the Colts. He had helped build 4 Super Bowl teams in Buffalo and had put together the expansion Carolina Panthers, who made it to the NFC Championship game in just their second season. San Diego's GM was Bobby Beathard, who'd done his best work when he'd had Joe Gibbs as his coach in Washington. Neither the Colts nor the Chargers were any good, but Manning would have been insulted to be selected behind Leaf. He even promised Polian, if he drafted him, "We will win a championship, and if you don't, I promise I will come back and kick your ass." Brady still had 1 year left to play at Michigan on the day the Colts turned their franchise around by selecting Manning. Peyton likes Brady very much. They've played golf together. They've had dinner together. Their wives have spent time together. Manning's brother Eli has defeated Brady twice in the Super Bowl. The Manning brothers have defeated Brady 4 times in the playoffs. I also outlined the book project, Brady vs. Manning, to Peyton. He's into it. What does he think about the Magic versus Bird comparison? It's hard to compare football to basketball. In basketball, you're guarding each other, playing offense and defense at the same time, he said. I have great respect for Tom, and I knew I was going to have to try to play well in order to beat the Patriots because they were going to be extremely tough to play. They were extremely well coached, and Brady was their quarterback. You always knew that was a challenge. The NFL has been an ATM without limits for a long time now, but the emergence of the Manning-Brady rivalry coincided with a tremendous growth spurt in the league. Robert Kraft bought the Patriots for $172 million in 1994, saving the ragtag franchise from moving to St. Louis. 20 years later, they were valued by Forbes at $2.6 billion, second behind the Dallas Cowboys at $3.2 billion, and Kraft's net worth was listed at $4.3 billion by Forbes in 2015. Manning vs. Brady raised the visibility and marketability of the entire NFL brand and made owners throughout the league even richer, helping revenues expand to $10 billion annually by 2014. They have been the 2 faces of the league during the period when its popularity exploded worldwide. The rivalry has been great for the fans and for the game of football, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said. Not only are they great performers, but it's almost what they do off the field that distinguishes them as even more special. They are leaders. They're maybe the hardest working individual players. Nobody outworks them. They prepare like nobody else. They are humble in the sense that they recognize the value of the team. They want their teams to take the same approach to the game of football. They are great ambassadors of the game because they love the game. You can't ask for 2 better guys. Manning is wildly popular, not only in Indianapolis and Denver, but around the country. Madison Avenue has capitalized on his appeal with all his commercials, ranging from pizza to automobiles to credit cards. Brady is beloved in Boston and is a civic treasure along with Bill Russell, Larry Bird, Bobby Orr, Carl Yastrzemski, and Big Papi. Outside their home areas, Brady stirs up more negative feelings than Manning. Why? He is resented for his tremendous success, his good looks, and his supermodel wife, and his connection to Bill Belichick. Brady steered away from any negative headlines on or off the field for nearly all of the first 15 years of his career, until the Indianapolis Colts alerted the NFL prior to the AFC Championship game on January 18, 2015, that they suspected the Patriots were deflating footballs, which would make them easier for Brady to grip, especially on days when it is cold or rainy. That gave birth to Deflategate, one of the most bizarre controversies in the league's 95-year history, leading Goodell to authorize severe penalties handed down by Troy Vincent, the league's vice president of football operations. The Patriots were fined $1 million and stripped of a first-round draft pick in 2016 and a fourth-round pick in 2017, and Brady was suspended for the first 4 games of the 2015 season, a sanction he appealed. Was this much ado about nothing? Did the footballs lose air pressure on their own due to atmospheric conditions? Or did Brady and the Patriots cheat? Each team prepares the footballs that its offense will use during the game. Until 2006, the home team was in charge of all the footballs, including those for the visitors. But Manning and Brady were behind a petition by quarterbacks to amend the rule and allow them to bring their own footballs on the road. At halftime of the championship game in Foxborough, 11 of the Patriots' footballs were retested. They were all under the 12.5 pounds per square inch minimum, and that prompted Goodell to initiate a full-scale independent investigation by Ted Wells, a New York attorney. The Patriots tried to explain the discrepancy by citing the ideal gas law. The Wells report, a 243-page account, was conducted over more than 100 days and cost the NFL millions. It came to the conclusion, through mostly circumstantial evidence, that Brady was involved in a plot to have air taken out of the footballs prior to the championship game with the Colts, after they were tested by referee Walt Anderson. Wells used a connect-the-dots approach to decide that assistant equipment manager John Jastrzemski and clubhouse attendant Jim McNally were acting on Brady's desire to have the balls deflated. The report never accused Brady of telling Jastrzemski and McNally to deflate the footballs under the minimum, only that he liked them on the lower end of the 12.5 to 13.5 psi range. Wells cited a series of text messages between Jastrzemski and McNally, who referred to himself as the Deflator, which the Patriots later attributed to his desire to lose weight, and surveillance cameras catching McNally duck into a bathroom for 100 seconds after Anderson had signed off on the 12 footballs the Patriots presented for the game. Wells wrote that it is more probable than not that Brady was at least generally aware of the inappropriate activities of McNally and Jastrzemski involving the release of air from Patriots game balls. Brady answered 61 questions during a 30-minute press conference on January 22nd, 4 days after the title game and nearly 4 months before the release of the Wells report. "I didn't alter the ball in any way," he said. "I feel like I've always played within the rules. I would never break any rules." The footballs come out of the box a little slippery, and quarterbacks and equipment managers work them over until they have a comfortable feel. Then the quarterbacks choose the 12 they want in the game along with 12 backups. "When I pick those footballs out, at that point, to me, they're perfect," Brady said. "I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them, putting any air in them, taking any air out. To me, those balls are perfect, and that's what I expect when I show up on the field." Deflategate overshadowed the Super Bowl for nearly 2 weeks, right up until kickoff. Brady, who never seems anxious, initially was nervous in that press conference as he was grilled with questions about air pressure, and for the first time in his career, his integrity was questioned. Wells revealed in his report that Brady refused to turn over his cell phone or even allow his own attorney to pick out relevant emails and text messages when they interviewed him. The NFL considered that a lack of cooperation, which contributed to Brady's punishment. The anti-Patriots faction will claim this taints Brady's legacy, even if the evidence would never get him convicted in a court of law. Patriots Nation will argue that Wells hardly proved the Patriots deflated the footballs and certainly didn't do enough to link Brady to any wrongdoing, although the consensus among quarterbacks is no equipment or clubhouse worker would make changes to the football unless directed by the quarterback. The impact on the game itself is arguable. Brady played much better in the second half of the 45-7 victory over the Colts when the footballs were full.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?